Good morning, everyone. Welcome to MVUU. My name is Samaradi, Pastoral Associate, and today we will be exploring joys and sorrows. And before we begin, I'd like to say welcome. Welcome to those of you here in person and those of you here virtually, and welcome to those who will watch the service later online. I'd like us to turn around and wave at the camera to those folks online. Thank you for coming and joining us. Every Sunday I've been a part of the service, I've been impressed and again with the immense commitment and talent of all those who make this happen so we can gather together. Thank you to Reverend Matthew Funkrary, who's MVU's minister. Thank you to our audiovisual crew, which includes today Lee and Todd McNeely, Todd, Susan Alexander on the Zoom visuals, TJ, Dan, and Alex Stuckey. Did I get everyone? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you to Chris Tackett, our music director, Joel Yelland, our song leader, Stacy Sosa, and volunteers for holding our RE program, and our welcoming and hospitality teams who greet and host us afterwards. So much gratitude for all that you do. And thank you especially this morning for those of you who helped me make tea, from Warren, who helped me clean up a broken cup, to Theta and Stephanie, who helped me make the tea. And so I appreciate all of you. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Pixar movie Inside Out. Any hands? Anyone familiar with it? Excellent. My movie choices tend to be guided by what can hold the attention of a 3-year-old. And so it has to be interesting, but not so interesting that it causes nightmares. And so Inside Out, the tale of Riley, a kid whose family moved to a different state, away from all that she has known and loved. And more specifically, the movie is about the personification of 5 primary emotions inside of her: joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. The movie goes into how joy, whose primary goal is that Riley needs to always be happy, fights letting other emotions take control of the helm, which leads to, of course, a series of misadventures and misfortunes. One of the key takeaways by the end of the movie is that by giving space to other emotions, the joy and happiness can be felt even deeper. Specifically, by letting ourselves hold space for sadness, that we can fully experience joy. This is supported and replicated in studies on emo-diversity, the diversity of experiencing both negative and positive emotions. Greater emo-diversity is associated with better mental health outcomes in the general population. So welcome as we explore through today's service the relationship between joys and sorrows and the space they can hold in your life. So welcome and thank you. I am joyful to be part of this process with you.
As Hobie informed me some months ago, I'm the Sunday morning doorman for the church. I get to greet many of you at the front door, and then after Chris plays our postlude, I open those doors, and then we all get to go to fellowship. So I am working the doors. And I get to welcome many members and friends and guests. And I get to welcome your joys and your sorrows. Even in that brief time right there at the front door, there's time to make that connection. My colleague, the Reverend Lisa Bovey-Kemper, says, in religious community, we share our triumphs, our sorrows, and our broken places. In this circle of care, she continues, we make space for the complexity of life, the myriad experiences that bless and break our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that on any given day, we each come to the table with hearts in different places. And this is joy. This is joy. That in the midst of the triumphs that we bring, the sorrows that break our heart, and those broken places where we struggle and we suffer and we live, we find joy simply in our gathering. Gathered together, a circle of community, joy. Now, Summer and I don't form much of a circle, by ourselves. There are a few open chairs, and we've invited a few people to help fill it out. Would the members who joined MVU last October come on down? And as they come, I invite you all to stand as you are willing and able and greet those around you. Really, stand up, have a moment, say hello, shake a hand, bump an elbow. Good morning.
Hi,
Have a seat.
I'm Summer.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'm Summer.
You get to sign the book and you get to join us.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wait. Alan, we are going to save that one for Chris. Yep. There we go. Thank you. Yep. That's right. This we got to save for Chris. That's all. Here. Feel free to pass the tea. Grab some cups.
Want some tea?
Go ahead. Fill in right in there. And of course, those of you online, I certainly hope you welcomed one another in the chat and continue to do so throughout the morning. In this circle of care, we make space for the complexity of life, the myriad experiences, the blessings, and the breakings of our hearts. The truth of human experience dictates that today, not some other day, here, present here, right now, as we're sharing in tea and cookies, and there will be some for you later, that you know that your hearts are welcome here. All hearts are welcome here. That you are welcome.
Today's chalice lighting is by William Blake. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silk and twine. It is right, it should be so. We were made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go.
Our opening sacred song is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's number 1008 for those of you at home looking at our teal hymnal. And Joel will be our song leader.
If you can hear me.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join your voices together as well. Yeah.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell the story from each side, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. Lord is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
Please be seated. A Unitarian Universalist congregation is made holy by individuals, by our coming together, our connecting, our committing ourselves in a covenant. We offer our time and our talent and our treasure. We offer ourselves because this community has become our faith community, and we can only care for it the only way that we can. We hold the belief that when you come and connect with our community and our faith, that you are pre-approved to be members. And you all remember, I imagine, meeting with Tom Bunch and getting some insight into the many connections that we have within our congregation. And then you also met with me, and I got to learn a little bit about your own backgrounds and journeys and what brought you all here. And then you were invited to participate in that membership ritual in October. And at that moment, there were exchange of commitments and welcomes, the restating of our congregation's covenant, how we hold each other in relationship, sacred relationship, how we make this a holy place together. And then you got to sign the membership book. No, you didn't. But we're going to fix that this morning. Our membership book is right here. We're going to have you pass that. If you go ahead and open it up. We have, Silvana couldn't be here this morning. She was part of this group, so she went ahead and signed up. She signed there, but I would invite you, if you would, Olivia, start here and just keep passing it down. And while they are doing that, I'll invite the rest of you to join me in a contemplation and considering and pondering the ritual of joys and sorrows. Joys and sorrows is another one of our unique Unitarian Universalist rituals. It looks like something from other faiths as well. It's a time for naming and holding joy and sorrow as a community. And I've witnessed practiced in many different ways among many different congregations, each as unique as the beautiful circle of people who make up each faith community. Generally, however, it works like this. Individuals identify themselves, and then either by taking the mic in person or writing something down for a leader to read, they name a sorrow or a joy that they are currently experiencing. Now, there are some folks, and this is part of Joys and Sorrows' shadow side, let's call it, who take the time to make an announcement or to file a complaint during the ritual. But, they're missing the point. The ritual is a moment within a faith community to listen and to hear the voice of just one person and to be held in this community. And so today we're going to re-engage that ritual, but as we are exploring joy the entire month, the last 2 Sundays, this Sunday and next Sunday, we're going to push this a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of an edge to this ritual today. As you are obviously welcome always to name your joys, we are going to actively invite your sorrows. We're going to actively invite your sorrows. We're going to invite your grief and your heartbreak. We're going to invite suffering and struggle that we engage in every day. And we do this following the wisdom of Ross Gay, a poet who wrote the book Inciting Joy. He says, "What if joy and pain are fundamentally tangled up with one another? Or even more to the point, what if joy is not only entangled with pain or suffering or sorrow, but it also emerges from how we care for each other through these things? What if joy, instead of being a refuge or a relief from heartbreak, what if it brings about a blossoming from us as we help each other carry on through heartbreaks?" Now, a ritual, any ritual, every ritual, is meant to invite you in and move you from where you began, to shift you from where you were to a brand new place when it's all over. Think of that. A ritual is a moment then to be open, vulnerable even, taking the risk of trusting a community that it will hear you and hold you and respond to you. That this very faith community here this morning will react and reply with care and compassion, because we believe that joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. With every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. It's the joy that simply exists in our gathering, a woven web, a circle of community that holds us. So let us prepare then to hold one another in joy so that we can welcome our sorrows. In Inciting Joy, Ross Gay recommends that we throw a party and invite our sorrows. He writes, "What I am advocating, and adamantly so, is that rather than quarantining ourselves or running from sorrow, rather than warring with sorrow, we lay down our swords and we invite sorrow in. I'm suggesting that we make sorrow some tea from the lemon balm in the garden, and we let sorrow wash up and take some of our clothes. We give Sorrow our dad's slippers that we've hung onto for 15 years for just this occasion. And we drape our murdered buddy's scarf, still smelling of Nag Champ, over Sorrow's shoulders just to keep it warm. We wedge some wood in the fire, and as we're refilling their tea, we notice Sorrow is drinking from a mug given to us by someone we've hurt.
We ask Sorrow about themselves, and we scooch closer to here. We eventually decide to invite a small group of friends over for a potluck because we want Sorrow to meet them. Sorrow says, maybe more than just your closest friends. So we add to the list a couple of acquaintances from work, the supermarket. We put our mechanic on the list, our chiropractor, and the neighbors we wave at, but not much more than that.
And when Sorrow asks, well, what about that guy? Of someone you really don't like. After thinking, how'd Sorrow know that? You say, I hate that dude. Sorrow says, better invite them too. Damn. Okay, you say. Looking over your shoulder as you're growing the invite list, Sorrow nudges you in the arm and says, maybe just invite anyone with some sorrow to bring along. Couldn't be too many people. Besides, Sorrow says, looking around at your little house, this is a good-sized place.
In just a moment, we invite you to share what is in your heart today with this faith community. To accomplish this together, in person and online, we will be using two pieces of technology. Your smartphone, if you have one here with you, or if you're at home, you have your computer, and the website called Mentimeter. There's the slide. The easiest way to participate is to use your camera on your smartphone, point it at the QR, that's the box with the little dots there, and focus in on that image. Once you've focused on the QR image, then an option to go to the website will appear. You tap your phone there. You do not need to take a picture. Don't take a picture. Your smartphone is smart enough to know that you want to do something very different. Alternatively, you can, at home, open a browser and type in menti.com. You can do that here as well if it's easier. And when prompted, you enter the number that you see there, that code, 5222-8638. So there are two options for you to participate. Now, once we begin our ritual, you'll be invited to share on that website. Please begin with your name. Your first name is just fine, but we want to know who you are. And then in less than 250 characters, I invite you to bring your sorrow. Of course, joys are always welcome too. Now, we have a few minutes before we begin, so you can assist each other. You can help one another find your way to this as we prepare as a community gathered here, gathered online to share. First, I invite you to a time of meditation, of breath, and of centering, and of wondering, what sorrow will you invite here? And so just let us breathe for a moment as your body allows, in and out a little more slowly. And just feel your body supported by the chair that you're in. here in our sanctuary or there at home. And breathe in and out a little more slowly if you can. Feel the support of this faith community. Our gathering, a circle of compassion and care, a web woven fine, holding individual triumphs, cradling your sorrows, and reminding us, always reminding us as we struggle in the broken places of our world that we are never alone. Breathe in and out. Open to the joy woven into this moment. The joy simply of gathering. Gathering in this circle. Gathering in a circle online. And knowing that this circle wants to see and hear and feel you. It wants to welcome each and every sorrow, and through our suffering and our pain, be together in community and in joy. Together, like this. To begin our ritual, Chris will light a candle, a beacon of joy, inviting all of our sorrows. Friends who are struggling with not enough resources. My mother's death. Estrangement from family members. I still miss my dad. Liana is dying. My grief of losing my father. Estrangement from a family member. My mother has ovarian cancer. COVID preventing my son from visiting us. Missing the friends, family, and furry companions who are no longer sharing the journey with us. Sally, I have a friend who had a stroke yesterday and is in the ICU fighting for her life. The way we indiscriminately slaughter each other, from Conrad. Painful arthritis and too many friends lost to death. Apartheid. Losing my partner, that I have not always acted with integrity in my actions. David, failure to release pain and anger built a wall between myself and my father. Dana, I have not been as loving and as kind as I should to be to myself, to others, or myself. The separation I feel from my son, the sorrow I bring are fears about my health. A friend of over 40 years is sinking into the pit of dementia. His memories and times together are disappearing as if they had never been. Elaine writes, my husband Leo, I miss his embrace. Gloria, I miss her laughter. Uncle Tommy, I miss his stories. my son Gabriel's death. The shortness of life, the uncertainty of my challenged future, have I done all I could to uplift others? Michael writes, more anxiety than sorrow these days. Chuck, no remaining family of origin. Mark, I bring the sorrow of feeling intense anxiety about my own capabilities to make a change in my work life. Sorrow for those whose lives are cut short by alcoholism and addiction, and for their families. Ruth writes, the sudden death of my brother at age 49. Jombar tells us, I've just come down with COVID. I tested positive, but I'm not feeling too bad. I expect it will be mild. I don't know where I caught it. The need for clarity and focus. Jennifer writes that there is someone in my neighborhood who is writing racial slurs, Nazi symbols, and other horrible things. Now, I eye my neighbors with suspicion. I'm heartbroken. My friend may have cancer. Another friend is struggling with cancer treatment. My ongoing double heartache of one daughter who has abandoned me and the other daughter who maintains an icy distance. Mary writes, I'm sorry that we are losing our precious forest all over the world. Loneliness, worry for my girl, missing my family, help for our daughter and our son-in-law. The loss of 5 very, very close family members in the last 6 years. Tom writes, all that I have missed, all that I did not see, all that as I have been so in the flow of dominant cultures. I continue to live with my not yet ex-husband in order to finish raising my son, who's a junior in high school. It is very awkward, Alana. Linda writes, having to move again. My brother is in hospice care and we have lost contact with each other for the past 4 or 5 years. Alana writes, I carry sorrow about the future of our planet and humankind and what will be left for my children. My joy is the innocence and the laughter of my children. My dad has faced many health issues in his life, and they're stacking up and getting worse. I fear that one that hits and he won't be able to come back from. Positive recovery from mental health issues, but latent fatalistic SI still looms. Slow creep toward war. And Julie writes, feeling betrayed by someone I trusted. Sherry writes, grief for our continued failure as a country to meet the mental health and physical, for housing needs for all. Letting go of stage 1 of life and moving uncertainly into another, I think my 7th. Elise writes, my heart is heavy with a brother-in-law just starting radiation and for President Carter as he enters hospice. Aaron writes, aging parents and family members with health issues living on the other side of the country, separation from friends and family near and far. Mary writes, over 46,000 people killed in earthquakes. And Pat writes, Mrs. talking to her mother who loved Tucson. Friends and family suffering with cancer. Judy feeling alone. Steve, I'm beginning a 2-month course of treatment for cancer. My relative is temporarily living with us, and he unconsciously relates to many things with racist stereotypes. It's hurtful personally and just sad. The feeling of empty space and loneliness with the death of a beloved companion pet. Harvey writes, reading the online news each day, shootings, earthquakes, evil politicians, 40,000 plus dead in Turkey and Syria, and countless injured, homeless, and orphaned. My daughter in unbearable physical and emotional pain. That our society has ignored or rejected our place within and our obligation to nature. That our society promotes separation from nature and hereby estrangement from our community and ourselves. After improving in December, Dylan is suffering again. Treatment is damaging his liver. Missing those I loved that have passed. The experience of bookends, my dying father and my pregnant daughter, both in states far away. This month marks 4 years from my friend's suicide. I still miss him. Miss being at MVUU, especially after just being in community and in person with so many of you yesterday, Jeannie. How can I reconcile with my son, Andy, from Hobie? John Clark, no sorrow uppermost, a joy. 2 thumbs up from a scholar in response to a draft article I wrote on Sanskrit text. More scholars' inputs waiting. Perhaps my voice on this subject may be finally heard. My partner's mother is hospitalized, and her serious condition remains undiagnosed. Lucinda writes, a moment of speaking my fierce liberalism, thoughtless of my audience, I sent my daughter into tears. So much named. The sorrows of our hearts. They're heavy, like this stone. And yet we hold it all in community. And still unnamed. Sorrows in our hearts that we can't bear to put to words. They're here too. We hold and recognize them as well. Joy and woe are woven fine. The clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. It is right, it should be so. We were made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. I invite you now to a time of prayer. I've been taught in seminary, but mostly by Unitarian Universalists, we don't pray on our knees with our eyes closed or our hands clasped. We pray ready to respond. We pray ready to take action. We pray to make our lives a prayer. And I believe it. Thank you for sharing your woes, your griefs, your sorrow. Thank you for taking the risk to be vulnerable, for offering the trust that you will be heard and held. It's an awesome burden to hold sorrow this way. And we cannot do it alone. And we cannot do it if we believe that each individual sorrow is greater than the joy. We can't. We have to have a faith that tells us joy is greater, and then we have to make it true. And we do it by inviting the sorrows. It seems such a backwards way to come at it, and yet it's true. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. And we wouldn't inflict this upon ourselves. We wouldn't share it with others if we didn't believe that there was yet something even greater beyond. Something we can only find in this faith community. And so let us respond. Let us show that we've heard, that we've perceived, and we welcome it. That we honestly believe that joy is greater, but sorrow is the path. Let us show one another in little gestures and big. Let us reach out and be true to the joy in this community. Amen. This song was chosen because it brings immense joy to Jess and Roy, because its instrumentation, its literal title of Getting Thy Bearings, which we believe we are still attempting to do. Its lyrics speak of togetherness and oneness. We feel that the song also echoes the intentions of this congregation and its overarching message of coming together to strive for justice, equity, and compassion in the community and in our world at large.
Get your bearings, know your time. Don't you worry, weather's fine. All the world knows what I'm saying. All the world knows what I'm saying. The world knows by now. Get together, work it out. Simplicity is what it's about. All I'm saying, the world knows by now. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Come together. Thank you.
This is a poem by Adrienne Rich. My heart is moved. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world.
If I look nervous, it's because I am. This is not where I like to sit. I like to be there. I just want to say when Reverend Matthew asked Norm and I to share a poem or a favorite reading for this Sunday, I had to reflect on the subject of today's service, which is joy and sorrow. And my first thought was, oh my God, how does one sum up the joy and sorrow in 55 years of marriage? In a nutshell, I can say that the first 25 years of our marriage were filled with immense joy. But the next 30 years brought serious illnesses and deaths. Every challenge brought growth and change into my life, with many lessons to be learned. So a few weeks ago, I came across some words of wisdom written by the famous Maya Angelou. And those words hit me like a ton of bricks. The title is What I've Learned, and it felt like she was saying those words for me. And I'd like to share them with you. Here's what she said. I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life does go on, and it will be better tomorrow. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way he or she handles these three things: a rainy day, lost luggage, and a tangled Christmas tree full of lights. I've learned that regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. I've learned that making a, quote, living is not the same thing as making, quote, a life. I've learned that life sometimes gives you a second chance. I know I've had 3 and 4. I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I'm still learning.
I've got here in my hand a copy of Khalil Gibran's The Prophet, which was my favorite book of all times. And on September the 21st, 1966, I gave this copy to Sue. And my inscription says, "To a person who can truly appreciate the sensitive and radiating words of Gibran." And I'd like to share my favorite poem, if I can. It goes, "Then Almitra spoke again and said, 'And what of marriage, master?' And he answered, saying, 'You were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Aye, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow, but grow not in each other's shadow." In 55 years of marriage, both Sue and I have lived out and tried very hard to live out these tenets, and we have. Thank you, and I love you.
Despair is my private pain, born from what I have failed to say, failed to do, failed to overcome.
Be still, my inner self. Let me rise to you. Let me reach down into your pain and soothe you.
I turn to you to renew my life. I turn to the world, the streets of the city, the worn tapestries of brokerage firms,
Drug dealers, private estates, personal things in the bag lady's cart.
rage and pain in the faces that turn from me, afraid of their own inner worlds.
This common world I love anew, as the lifeblood of generations who refused to surrender their humanity in an inhumane world courses through my veins.
From within this world, my despair is transformed to hope.
And I begin anew the legacy of caring.
I was fortunate enough to be in a church in Rocky River, Ohio, near Cleveland, that was served by Reverend Wayne Arneson and his wife, Kathleen Rollens. And this is one of his most famous quotes. "Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone." And I would add, we are so blessed to be a part of this faith community that resonates with us, that encourages us to work together for the common good. We are indeed not alone. We have each other.
Our closing hymn is, not surprisingly, Surprised by Joy. Joel will be our song leader, thank you. And I invite you to rise as you are willing and able and join your voices together.
Gifts is this best gift alone to mortals give, the love of parent, love of friend, attunes our heart to bliss of heaven. Faith, hope, and love here come alive, life's deepest treasure is made known when in forgiving, giving all inseparably to are as one.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you for joining us today for today's service as we witness new members signing the membership book, as we explore joys and sorrows and their interrelationship, and as we shared our sorrows as a community. A few announcements, the first by Steve Botorf about the Tucson Festival of Books.
Just 2 weeks from today will be the last day, closing day of the Tucson Festival of Books. We will be there representing the Baja 4 churches, distributing books about our faith. Those books are on display at a table out here in the Oasis Room, and they are for sale. The sale of those books will benefit the Baja 4, and more importantly, we need volunteers to be at the booth 2 weeks from now. I have a volunteer sign-up sheet there. If you'll stop and see me, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second announcement by Stacy Sosa, Director of RE. I believe there's a video.
Good morning. I'm Stacy, your coordinator of religious exploration. And as you know, every Sunday we offer religious exploration for our youngest. It's a joyful service to our families and our community. But we're growing, and we're looking for a few more adults who would love to join us. What I find most joyful is watching the children's faces light up when they enter the room, or the look of pride that they get when they discover something new. This work is spiritually fulfilling by helping our youngest grow in our faith, and is an amazing service by giving back to MVU just one Sunday a month. Don't worry, we'll make it easy for you. We'll run the background check, we'll do all the scheduling, and share with you the lessons for the day. That's it. If you're interested, come see me during fellowship hour out on our patio, after you've grabbed a cookie and coffee, of course. Or you can email me at stacy.sosa@mvuu.org. Thank you so much.
Please join us afterwards for refreshments. And as you exit the doors, the wooden baskets are for the work of MVUU, and the woven baskets this month go towards UU Jazz. We will close today's service with On Joy and Sorrow by Gibran Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese-American author who writes about the intertwining of these two emotions. On a personal note, this Khalil Gibran means a lot to me. On a trip in 2010, that was the last trip I took with my mother to Lebanon, and we had the chance to go see the home that was created for him, where he was immortalized as well. And so it intertwines everything with my mother and with my heritage. And so I too have a small black book that my mother gave me on joy and sorrow. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, 'Joy is greater than sorrow,' and others say, 'Nay, sorrow is the greater.' But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall." Thank you.